Are you able to view my screen, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So today's session is about algorithm specification in detail. So already we have studied the algorithm specification. Just I told you the comments, how assignment operators and all are given. But in detail, again, I want to cover as per the textbook. Under this heading, algorithm specification, we have pseudo conventions and recursive algorithms. Okay, so make a note of this: pseudo conventions and recursive algorithms. So when it comes to pseudo conventions, the same thing what I was saying orally, now it is in the form of a document. So easily, I hope you will be understanding. Okay, comments begin with two backward slashes, and that will be continued till the end of the line for a single line. Okay, so then these we call them as conventions, though they are covered under specifications. Again, under subheadings in detail, I'm saying. Okay, so again, I just repeat: algorithm specifications in detail, pseudo conventions, and recursive algorithms. So under pseudo conventions, again, the different conventions what we use in writing an algorithm, we are going to learn. So in an algorithm, if at all you want to give comments, so comments are given to backward slashes. And if at all you want to give any block of code in a functions or in a loop or whatever, it should be within the flower braces. And then I told you about the assignment of an variable. Say if a is equal to 5. If you write a is equal to 5 in programming languages, a have to be declared first, and then we say a is equal to 5. But that is equal to whatever is the assignment. When we want to write in the algorithms, so that is replaced with colon equal to. Okay, so variable colon is equal to whatever the value you want to give, or if any expression or anything. Sometimes getting some solution we are storing into some variable, no? So that's what the assignment. And the next one we have, in order to get true and false Boolean values in terms of logical or relational operators. So logical, we say as and or not. So when we use that, when we get true or false, or relational operators by using the different symbols here: less than or equal to, not equal to, greater than, equal to, and greater than. So in this case, when you are using this in conditions, so if it is true, it is going to enter the block. If it is false, it is going to exit the block. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. So all these symbols of operators are also used in algorithms. That's what this fourth point means. And coming to the fifth one, multi-dimensional arrays. So multi-dimensional arrays are used by giving two square brackets, opening and closing. Say suppose if we have A as a two-dimensional array, then it is represented as A of. So this of is nothing but the square brackets. Square brackets. Okay, so just concentrate here. So square brackets, A of I comma j. And the indices, how it starts in programming languages from 0. So here also it starts at 0 only. Okay. So moving on to the sixth one. So for looping statements like for loop, while loop, repeat, until. So few things I have given here. So while condition do, and as I told you, the block you have to give the flower braces and the statements, and each statement should end with semicolon. Okay, so similarly here for loop, see, since for loop there is an assignment operator here, equal to, so that wherever you get equal to, it has to be replaced with colon equal to. For variable, colon equal to value 1 to value 2, step expression do. So this step, it can be optional. Why? Because usually for loop it will be incremented by 1 always. See, when I say for I is equal to 1 to 10. So this is going to be iterated 10 times. But when I say for I is equal to 10 to 1 step, minus 1 do. So that means from 10, 9, 8, 7 like that. So in that case, whenever if it is needed, this part, step expression can be optional. If it is needed, you can use, or else you can just write for I is equal to 1 to 10. So when you want to use step expression, you have to write the step and block of statements and the statements, and each statement should end with the semicolon. And then moving on to the 8th convention. So if condition, how do we give? If condition, then statements. Similarly, just like how in programming language we have, for algorithms also it's the same. If it is else, if then statements, else statements. Here you may or may not have then in all the programming languages. So just make note of it. If condition, then statement. Here also, if condition, then statement. If not that, else statement. So when the condition is false, it is going to come to else part. Okay. So then moving on to the next one, input and output are done using the instructions read and write. So in an algorithm, when we want to take input, so we have to say read. When you want to give the output, so we have to write. Yes, na, some disturbance is there. Mute your mics, all of you. Mute your mics. Still. Yes, students. Yes, Pramila, you just check the participants list and see whose mic is on and call them and tell them.
Yes, ma'am. I'm ma'am, roll number 38.
Yes, ma, 38. Mute yourself. No, I need not say all this. Everything is recorded. Don't make all unnecessary things to be recorded. Let's continue with our topic. Okay. And then moving on to the next point, that is, there is only one type of procedure that we say it as algorithm. And every algorithm has some heading and the body. So how exactly we are going to give that algorithm keyword, okay, name of that procedure or function, and the parameters list. Okay, so the next one, I have just given you the algorithm, the same thing I was telling you in the previous class, but today also in detail as I want to cover, so I just make a note of things as a notes and then present it. Okay, algorithm max. So algorithm is a keyword, max is the procedure name, capital A is an array, n is the number of elements. Okay, so that's how we are going to pass the number of parameters to a procedure or a function. So if at all we want to specify any comments within the algorithm, we can say to backward slashes. So what exactly A is? So it is an array of size n. Okay, so maybe that array is having 10, n is equal to 10. So it will be called, this procedure will be called by a comma 10. So that will be passed here. Okay, so and then result is equal to, just concentrate on, most of the things are like programming language only few things are different. What is different, if you can remember, then easily you can write what you think of the procedure in step by step lines as an algorithm. Okay, so result is equal to a of 1. So initially into result variable, we are storing whatever is the value is there in the a of 1 index. Okay, so and then the iterating starts from 2 to n. So 2 to 10. So 1 is assigned, say suppose our a is equal to So I'll take 5, say 10, 11, say some 21, some 50, and 5. So this is the A. Okay. So here when we say A of 1, so the result it is going to get 10. Okay. So
Ma'am, A of 1 is level number.
yes, ma, A of 1. See, in algorithms, though array indices starts from 0, but for our understanding in algorithms, the index we take from 1 only. Please remember this point. In algorithms, the index, in order to avoid confusion, algorithms, the indices, it starts from 1 only. Okay. So likewise, result you are going to get A of 1, it is 10. So from 2 to, so when it is 2, I is equal to 2. When I is equal to 2, so A of 2. So this is square brackets, we just corrected. So A of 2 greater than, what is A of 2? 11. 11 greater than 10? Yes. So then swap. So what now result will have? 11. Okay. So again this will be iterated. So 3. So what is 3? 21. 21 compared with 11. Is it true? Yes. So result will now have 21. And then now it is 4. Okay. So A of 4 is 50. Greater than 21. Yes. So result you are going to get 50. And then N is 5. A of 5 greater than result? 5 greater than 50? No. So now it is going to return 50. So among the list of array elements, whatever is the maximum we are returning in this case. So this code is working for finding out maximum element in the given array. Is that clear? So though indices we have from 0 in programming languages, in order to avoid confusion, in algorithms we use from 1 only. So please remember this point or make a note of it in your running notes. Is this clear now? Okay. So the next one, we move on to recursive algorithms. So first of all, what is recursive? Recursive means which repeat the same thing again and again. That is what? Recursive. So if you see the definition, a recursive function is defined as itself, in terms of itself. And here the recursive algorithms are of two types: direct recursive and indirect recursive. When we say direct recursive, so the algorithm that calls itself, algorithms that calls itself. Algorithms that calls itself is called as recursive algorithms, which is calling itself. What is indirect recursive? Say suppose if you have an algorithm. So algorithm A, I'm naming that algorithm as A. So that algorithm is indirect when it is calling another algorithm, and that algorithm in turn again it's calling A itself. So A is calling, say, some B. A algorithm is calling B algorithm. B algorithm is again calling A. So that means A is not directly called. It is called through B and then A. So this thing, the calling of by taking intermediate person's help, That is called indirect. So just now when somebody was in unmute, so I called CR and asked her to call him, which is indirect calling. But whereas when I call with the roll number, so then that is direct. Is that clear? So recursive algorithms, recursive itself is calling itself. But when it calls itself, it is called direct. When indirect means intermediate. Instead of calling directly with intermediate or in between persons help or taking another algorithm and then again calling, then it is called indirect recursive. So these are the types in the recursive algorithms. Okay, so now we'll discuss about the examples of recursive algorithms. So here, though the heading is given as recursive, for every algorithm, since you need to know what is the difference, so here I am telling you about what is iterate and what is recursive. So first, let me tell you about recursive only. Why? Because since we were talking about recursive till now, so it is calling itself. So the function fact f of n. Okay, so here I'm going to find out the factorial of n. Say 2. Okay, so if n is less than or equal to 0, is n is less than or equal to 2? No, so it comes to the else part. So what it will do? So return 2 into. So again, this function, whatever is there, it is going to call. With what it is going to call? What was our n? It was 2. So 2 minus 1. So that means it is going to call as 1. So algorithm fact of 1. So now it will check n less than or equal to 1. Yes. So then it is going to return 1. So this return value to whichever it is called, it is going to return back. And wherever it is returned, again that value is given back to the function called. So now in place of fact of n minus 1, so now it is going to be substituted with 1. So now overall what it is going to give? 2 into 1. So it is 2. So overall factorial of 2 is 2. So that's how it is going to iterate. So here this one. So overall whatever we are learning, okay, so let's leave this. So and then again, so you understood what is recursive now? Whatever may be the algorithm heading here, so that is again going to appear it in the body. Then it is called recursive. So before this, I just wanted to ask you one question. So tell me, for what kind of problems we can use recursive method? Anyone? For what kind?
For divide and conquer algorithms.
Divide and conquer. No, it's not correct.
For sorting, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
For sorting.
For sorting, no.
For factorial.
So factorial is an example. I am asking for what kind of problems in general, for what kind of problems you are going to use recursive.
For divide and conquer.
No, ma, not divide and conquer. So again, I'll repeat here. You just concentrate. Whatever the problem is given, whatever the problem is given, if that main problem is subdivided into sub-problems, whatever the main problem, say 3 factorial example you take, 3 factorial. When its solution 3 into 2 factorial. So in the sub-problem of the main problem, this is the main problem and this is the sub-problem. So this is what we call the sub-problem. When the sub-problem resembles same as the main problem, when sub-problem resembles the problem as main problem, then in such cases we can use recursive methods. Okay, so again when it is divided, again this is a sub-problem which is resembling the main problem. But when it is subdivided, whatever the solutions for and till where it will be going on divided from the main problem to sub-problem level, till when it is going to divide like this, until it has to reach some base condition. Hope everything you forgot. Base condition. So once
Yes,
the base condition is reached, the solution is going to trace back for the main problem. How it is going to trace? 1 factorial or 0 factorial is the base condition. So that solution is 1. Okay. So now, so 2 into 1 will be given to 2 factorial. So this is 2. So now again 3 into 2, it is 6. So that will be given back to 3 factorial. So now the overall solution for 3 factorial is 6. So understood? Again, I'll just repeat what I told you. The recursive procedure or recursive method can be applied only for the problems for which the sub-problems resembles same as the main problem. For such problems only recursion can be applied. And that is what we have learned, the recursive procedure for factorial of a number. See, suppose, since we are learning algorithms, we should be capable of writing an algorithm in different forms. The factorial, since it is a recursive problem, I can write a recursive approach. Whereas, is this only the solution I can give for a factorial by writing recursive? No. But I also can write without recursion. Without recursion, then such things are called as iterative method. Only iterations. Okay, using iterative means using loops. Using loops, I can write the code. I just need not write always the recursive algorithm for factorial. I can also write iterative method other than recursive using loops, then that is called iterative method. So in iterative method, what exactly we are doing? We are just passing n value for which you want to find out the factorial, say 3. So here we are checking n less than or equal to 1, then it is going to return 1. So from 2 we are taking 2 to n. Okay. So into the product variable, we keep on add for all the indices of 2 and so on till whatever is our n value. So since our n is 3, so since our n is 3, so it will be iterated till 3. Okay, so product is equal to, so what is the initial one? So product into I. So initially the product should be assigned to 1, which is not given here. Maybe the prior steps of algorithm what you write, it has to assign some value. So 1 into I, it will be 2. And if n is equal to 3, and it will be iterated to 3. Okay. So then 2 into 3 it will become when n is 3. So it is 6. So now the product 6 is going to return to the called function. Likewise, the factorial of 3 now it will become 6 here. Okay. So that's how each algorithm or each problem, if it is recursive, we can write both the ways. Recursive algorithm we write. We also can write iterative method. Recursive method or iterative method. Hope all of you understood this. What is recursive and what is iterative? You want me to repeat anything? Why? Because in the examination, specifically they may ask you, in general, what you have studied in programming language, executions and all that is different. But here you are going to learn how to write an algorithm. How to write an algorithm and its performances. Okay. So here, but tell me what are the advantages and disadvantages when we compare these two?
Recursion will take more time complex.
So recursive is good for some problems. There is some overhead. What it is? Space complexity, that space it is going to take more. Because since the sub-problem is resembling the main problem, so every time it is going to take more and more. So I'll discuss these things in detail when we come to time complexity and all. But for now, you just try to understand what is recursive method and what is iterative method. So similarly, another example I just wanted to cover in this class, Fibonacci numbers. So tell me what is Fibonacci numbers or Fibonacci series? So the series like
Addition of
0,
previous element.
1.
Addition
Yes,
of
the next one
previous
is
two
1.
elements.
And then
2,
2. And then
3,
3. And then
5, and so on.
And so on. So how we are seeing the number what you want to get is nothing but the sum of two numbers.
Two previous numbers.
Sum of its previous two numbers. So here initially I am taking 0 and 1. So 0 plus 1 gives you the next number as 1. 1 plus 1 gives you the next number as 2. 1 plus 2 gives you the next number as 3. 2 plus 3 gives you the next number as 5. So likewise, the series is going to continue. So in order to do this, can I do the recursive way? Yes, you can do. Here, the parameter what we are passing for the fib algorithm of under recursive. So I contains the term number. Okay. So here 1, 2, 3 likewise. So this is nothing but what we are saying it as I. Okay. So if I is equal to 1, then we are going to return 0. When I is 1, so what value we are taking? 0. When I is 2, I am returning 1. So here why we are giving like this? These two statements, they are something like, yes, tell me why I am writing these two statements. These works like base conditions. For any recursive problem, base conditions have to be correctly given. Otherwise, it will go into finite loops. It never terminates. It just goes on. So since giving first two values, so 0, 1 if I give, then if I ask you to tell the next number, you will be able to say. Without giving these two, you may not continue with the series. So for which I am just taking the iterator as I, and when I is equal to 1, I am giving it as 0. When I is equal to 2, I am giving it as 1. So these are works like base conditions. Okay. And then if I is greater than 2, that means say if I is 3, so I is 3 now, so 3 greater than 2, then so what it has to return? Fib of I minus 1. What is I now? 3. So 3 minus 1, it is 2. Why we are taking I minus 1 and I minus 2? So
Because
when this,
those two are previous
yes,
variables.
when this is I, so what is its previous position value? I minus 1, and this is I minus 2. So in order to get I, if I can take the sum of its two previous values, that is I minus 1 and I minus 2. I minus 1 is next to it previous, and I minus 2 is next to next previous. Okay, so that's why we are taking I minus 1 and I minus 2. So now, so let's continue. So I is 3 here. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So fib of 2 we have to find. And fib of 3 minus 2 is 1. So fib of 1. So what is fib when I is equal to 1? So when it is passed here, fib of 1. So this satisfies. So this is going to return 0 for this. So what is fib of 2? So again the function will be called for fib of 2. So when I is equal to 2, it is going to return 1. So what is the overall sum? So what it is going to return? 1, and here plus is there. So 1 plus 0, it is going to become as 1. So now it is going to return as 1. So when 3 is passed, so the solution 1 is going to return here. So that means when I is equal to 3, what is the result we are getting in the series? As 1. So similarly, this is going to continue. Is that clear? Yes, ma'am. You want me to repeat anything? Yes, I want the response. Yes, Nandalal, are you able to follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Others? You can answer my in between.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Unmute, answer, and then mute yourself. Just make it a habit. Okay. So the same thing, Fibonacci, recursive, how we are doing. Similarly, can we do iterative? Yes, why not? So whatever the base conditions we are thinking, directly we are assigning. Whatever the base conditions we are thinking, so that base condition values directly we are assigning. F1 as 0, F2 as 1, these first two values. And here n is the number of terms. How many terms you want? Here it is different. I contains term number, but n is nothing but the number of terms. So why I am saying write f of 1? So the output statements in algorithms we write as using write. So when we are saying write, so it is going to write 0, and then write f of 2, then it is going to write 1. Okay, and then 1 to n minus 2. Why n to n minus 2? Say suppose if I pass n as say 5. So what result we are expecting out of this? 0, 1, 1, 2, and then 3. So n is the number of terms in the series. So 5 I am giving 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So this is the first one, second one. Since 1 and 2 are nothing but the base conditions, that values are already we are assigning and printing them. How many are remaining more? Among 5, 2 goes under base condition. Remaining are 3. So 2 are out of it. So that's why whatever is our n, so n is 5. So Minus 2, why we are doing? Since 2 already we got from the base condition. Those 2 we are eliminating. So 5 minus 2, 3. So if this loop is iterated for thrice, so then I'm going to get next three remaining elements. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. So here F3 is nothing but the next value. So this is F1, this is F2. So F3 is nothing but what we are going to find. So how do I write F3? F3 is equal to its previous. Previous is F2 and again its previous is F1. So F3 I can write it as F1 plus F2. So in Fibonacci series, the number what you are going to find, it is the sum of its previous 2 elements. So previous 2 elements we are saying. And then we are writing that. So how much we got? Sum of 2 previous elements, our F1 is 0 and our F2 is 1. And what is our F3 now? It is 1. So whatever is the F3, we got it as 1. We are going to write as in the series. So now we need to swap. What we have to do? For F1, we have to get F2. So what was F2 now? It was 1. So now our F2 will become 1. Because in order to find out the next one, so it should be the sum of its previous. So now what I am doing, whatever was F2, I am making it as F1 and whatever was F3, I am making it as F2. So that is what the things what happening here. So now our F2 will be 1. So when it is iterated for the second time, so what is the sum of the next 2? So 1 plus 2. So now 1 plus 1. So now it will be 2. So for the fourth element, the previous 2 values are 1 plus 1. So now it will be 2. So similarly, when I is equal to 3, so till 3 only. So 3, its previous 2 elements are 1 plus 2. So now it will become 3. So that's how it is going to write. So this will be iterate only for 3 elements. 2 we got anyway from the base condition. And remaining 3 we got from the loop. This loop we got. So that's why we are writing n minus 2 here. Is this clear? The difference between recursive and iterative for a Fibonacci number, the logic and how exactly it's happening. Okay, so the next one, if you see this, so write a recursive algorithm for Ackermann's function. So which is defined as, sometimes they give you some function. So a of m comma n is equal to, so n plus 1 when m is 0. If n is 0, so this is the value it is going to take. Other than these two conditions, otherwise, so then it is going to take this. Okay, so this is what it is. Okay, so here, how do we write the solution? So the algorithm, since they are asking to write the algorithm for this algorithm a of m comma n. So first condition I am writing, if m is equal to 0, this one I am talking about. If m is equal to 0, then return what it is, n plus 1. So that is what this block. And then if n is equal to 0, what it has to do? Take a of m minus 1 comma 1. So that we have written. Why we are writing in the else part? Otherwise they said, other than these two conditions, so else. So what it has to return? So that is what we are writing. So sometimes in the examination, they may give you some function or problem like this and they may ask you to write the solution, write the algorithm for the given one. Okay. So moving on to the next one. So towers of Hanoi is the example given. Towers of Hanoi is the example given. So all of you pay attention. I'm not going to tell you the algorithm. I'll just play you the logic behind this. Okay. So before I play this, here what exactly we have to do is, the conditions for in towers of Hanoi is, you have 3 towers like this, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So however the discs are there in the first tower, similarly I just want all the discs to move to the last tower. But what condition? Always on the bigger disk, smaller one should be placed. Never place a smaller one on the bigger one. These are the conditions. With these conditions, you should be able to move these discs present in the tower 1 to tower 3 by taking the help of tower 2 in between. So let's
Ma'am,
see.
what is Hanoi, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
What is Hanoi?
Hanoi is nothing but the towers. That's what I'm saying. No, towers. Towers of Hanoi means Hanoi itself is the tower. Okay, here from tower 1 we should be able to move these discs to the final tower by taking intermediate tower as a help. Why this help is given? So when we are moving the disc, less disc or the lower disc cannot place. The lower disc can be placed on the bigger one, but not bigger one placing on the smaller one. Okay. So let's see this one. So when 3 are there, it's very easy to carefully observe. Okay, this is the one when we have 3 discs. It's very easy. Okay, but similarly when we go on to 4, okay, so based on the number of discs, so slowly the problem is becoming bit complex and the number of moves needed are also more. So for which we have to write a recursive algorithm for towers of Hanoi. Okay, so when it was 3, it was bit easy. When it is becoming 4, it was bit complicated. So on, when the number of discs are increasing, the problem is becoming more complex. So when it is becoming more complex, so it may not be handled by the humans. So if we write a solution for the smaller problem and keep that block in the recursive, so that can be iterated for n number of problems, and that of n sub problems gives you the solution for the complex problem. So that is the logic behind. Okay.